What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Laugh Napkin, where we read stories from Reddit. And today's top stories are coming from r/am I the a-hole and r/malicious compliance. Let's get right into it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents move in and reminding them that they backed the wrong horse? I'm a 37-year-old male. My family comes from and is a long line of doctors. Being a doctor is the only acceptable profession in their eyes, and anything aside from that is met with literal abandonment. Which is what happened to me when I turned 17 and told my family I was not going to be a doctor, but build an acting career / social media career. YouTube wasn't huge then, and supplement my income with small business endeavors. When I told my family this, they kicked me out, and we subsequently lost contact for 17 years. During that time, they moved to the UK, and my sister became a doctor, and my older brother got into a very competitive stream for surgery, neurosurgery specializing in special tumor diagnosis and removal, which he has now finished. We reconnected when COVID hit, and they told me that they were moving back to Sydney for lifestyle reasons, and because my brother has found a $750,000 a year job. During the last 2 years, they never asked me how my acting career / social media stuff went, and basically assumed I was slumming it in Sydney. To their credit, they were correct in that I didn't make it big in acting. Maybe the world wasn't ready for a mainstream leading role Indian, or make it at all. I did, however, make it big as an investment banker, and recently made partner at the bank I work. This came to head on Friday when I met them for house shopping. I walked to meet them. When they asked about my car, I just said I preferred to walk. And they realized the areas they wanted to live, despite being highly paid medical professionals, simply wasn't going to be happening, as the houses cost north of $20 million. When we decided to call it a day and regroup, they suggested going back to my place before going out to dinner. When we arrived at my house, they thought I was renting a room and inquired how much rent was. I informed them that I wasn't renting, and that this was my house. They lost their shit, accusing me of lying to them for years and only meeting up to rub in their face my probably illegally gained wealth, and capped it off by informing me that they'll be living with me now instead of my oldest brother, since they can't be seen living in a worse house than their son. I laughed at them and reminded them that they bet on my brother and sister, not me, and that they have a better chance living with my neighbors than me. At that point, they threatened to cut me out of their will, to which I reminded them of the fact that they can't even afford to buy a house in my area, so their will and assets don't really matter to me. They now aren't talking to me, and my brother and sister are saying that I should have been proactive in letting them know of my success. I have a public LinkedIn profile, so they literally never Googled me. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, you are not the a-hole here. Your parents made their choice. They could have contacted you. They could have made an effort to see how you're doing. Especially if you think your kids are living like a slum and you come from money. You would think the parents would want to at least support OP, but I guess not. So they get what they deserve. Let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for supporting my boyfriend when he told my son, no lock till you're 18? I'm a 39-year-old female and I've been with my boyfriend for 4 years. I have a biological son of 16 years old, as well as 2 stepkids, 11 and 13. My son has been complaining about his younger step-siblings entering his room and taking his things constantly and without asking. I tried discussing this with the boys, and my boyfriend punished the boys and told them to ask first before taking anything, and return it if taken. But my son said they hadn't listened, and things went back to how they were. A few days ago, my son came downstairs saying his older stepbrother broke his controller, and put it back and told him he returned it like his dad told him, but the controller was broken. I again went to my boyfriend with this issue, and had my son sit and directly talk to him. My son asked him if he could just get a lock for his room to resolve this issue, but my boyfriend didn't welcome the idea, and told him no because locks bring troubles to his house. But my son tried to convince him and assure him that he won't use the lock when he's home, but only when he's at school or working. My boyfriend still said no, and then told him no lock till you're 18, period, no more discussion. Thing is, my son will still be living with us because he decided to go to a community college, and my boyfriend told him when he reaches 18, that is when he gets to get a lock, and start paying rent and no one will bother him. My son begged me to say something since he couldn't take it anymore after his controller was broken. But I agreed with my boyfriend that as the owner of the house, he gets final say and no lock means no lock. However, the boys will be facing stricter punishments to enforce the no touching other stuff rule. But my son was having none of it, and started yelling at me and my boyfriend saying his stepbrothers will never respect his privacy and his stuff no matter how hard their punishment is, since they never learn and are very stubborn and will always do what they want. He picked an argument with my boyfriend after my boyfriend said he'll pay for the controller, and then my son called me awful for siding with him and refusing to see his blatant injustice in this house, and told us he's reconsidering staying with us after 18. He keeps saying I'm not on his side because if I was, I'd be encouraging him set boundaries and protect his stuff that he buys with his own money. I reminded him of how much my boyfriend helped us. We lost our apartment due to debts and my boyfriend took us in 2 years ago. We had nowhere to go. And let him know he's doing his best to hold the boys accountable. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? So this is a tough one. Well, it's not her son's house, it's her boyfriend's house, and he does make the rules. I feel like there can be a middle ground here. Maybe get the kid a lock to the door that you have the keys to. Then you don't have to worry about trouble in the home. It just keeps the other kids out. I think that'd be a good idea. But for the situation in general, I think OP should back her son. Because there's nothing like buying stuff and watching your siblings break it. Alright, let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister and brother-in-law to move out after 3 years of supporting them after a family tragedy? About 3 years ago, my sister and her husband lost their 3 young children in a really bad car accident. My sister barely survived but pulled through. They had 2 daughters who were 8 and 6 and a 3-year-old son. I won't go into specifics surrounding the accident or their deaths because it was quite frankly horrific. My sister and I are 10 months apart and have always been extremely close. At the time of my nieces and nephews' deaths, I was living alone in a 3-bedroom home and offered for them to live with me. They were both understandably too unable to function to go back to work, and we all needed each other. I didn't want them to have to worry about money or losing their home after what had happened. I've supported them emotionally and financially pretty much ever since it happened. They both refused to go to therapy, and still both aren't working. I have a good job, but it's not an easily manageable thing, and I didn't really expect it to go on so long. About 1.5 years ago, I met my current fiance. We clicked immediately and got engaged 6 months later. We're due to get married next October. I've been trying to drop hints to my sister about wanting the house back to myself to live in with my fiance, but she's not picking up on it. My fiance has grown increasingly frustrated with me, saying I'm very obviously being taken advantage of. Last weekend I straight up told my sister I needed to talk to her, and told her that I wanted my house back and to live with my partner alone before getting married and starting to have children. She got upset and went running to our mom, who called me an a-hole for not considering how my sister would feel about that. It hasn't been mentioned since, but both my sister and brother-in-law are hardly talking to me. Am I the a-hole? So I don't think you're the a-hole. While this situation just sucks in general, there has to come a point where they get back on their feet. But honestly guys, I'm kind of iffy on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Help me clear this up. Let's move on to the next story. This story comes from r/malicious compliance. Legal action if I don't delete my files? Okay then. I had a decent job. Pay was weak, but it was easy, and my team was really good with me. Then COVID happened, and my manager colleagues lost sight that being a manager is a duty to serve your team, and not a right to be power hungry. They'd post in chat cruel or nasty things about team members and fuel gossip. After witnessing this, I decided I wanted out, and gave my manager the heads up that I was leaving, and then went on my leave. I was told that no job could accommodate my needs. I tried to swing my hours and stay working from home, and I should be lucky to find better. This didn't go down well, and they slowly dissolved my department and made my team's life hell. I took a photo of the instant messenger and sent it to a colleague to whistleblow. Despite nothing to say, the group I am was confidential. I got served with a cease, desist, and delete, or legal action. Now during COVID, I made many reports to make working from home a doodle. This was many Excel, Google Sheet docs that fed into each other, and access to policies, all the shebang that people need on the fly. These were being used on the daily many times. Well, okay, you want me to delete all documents from home and my personal accounts? Not a problem. The next day I had people asking where the reporting had gone. I just watched it all unfold. The kicker? I found a job that gave me all I asked for and a pay increase. Lovely. That is lovely, OP. Hell yeah, and good for you. That is some sweet malicious compliance. Let's move on to the next story. The final story, the last story of the day. I demand to see the manager. In the early 90s, I was made redundant from a large telecom company with a very generous payout. This allowed my wife and I to buy a florist shop. She was a trained florist, which has a staff including a manager. I got another job in IT but used to help out in the shop on Saturdays as I enjoyed the work. One Saturday afternoon, just before closing time, an irate man comes in complaining his flowers had been delivered late for his wife's birthday. I was the only one in the shop. The other 2 staff were busy out back cleaning up and getting ready to close. I found the order and it had a note on it saying, "Deliver after 10 a.m." It had been delivered at 11:10. I told him that it was quite reasonable that we had delivered it then, as it was after 10 and no other stipulation had been made, so I felt his complaint was unjustified. He got quite aggressive and demanded to speak to the manager, so grinning to myself, I went out to the back and got her, staying out back myself to assist with clearing up. I could hear the guy trying to demand a refund. The manager told him that it would have to be authorized by the owner. His face was a picture when she called me and I came back out. Ho 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 ho! That is legendary. I sure hope you didn't get that refund, OP. But alright guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories. If you did, be sure to smash that like button. And as always, leave a comment down below. I really appreciate your support and I try to respond to every single one of you guys. So thank you so much for being here with me today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.